After being betrayed by his wife and his wealthy patron, the scientist becomes a circus clown as his way of expressing his cynicism and misery in the 1924 silent film He Who Gets Slapped. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones. You hear that, Ryan? Wait for it. There it is. Did you get it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Perfectly get it.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, this
It's
week's...
so clear, it's so crisp.
Yeah. As you might notice, there's no intro from the movie this week, and that's because, well, it's a silent film, and it would be kind of dull just to listen to the music free of all context. So there you go. But there is something interesting about this particular silent film is that it's like this is the very earliest, as I can recall. This is only a personal thing, but I don't think I've seen an earlier to date film of like a revenge flick. And that's what this is, isn't it?
Are there revenge elements in them? Yeah, there can be, but you're right. This is absolutely a revenge flick.
It runs a very quick 110 minutes, I think. It's a very quick 110 minutes. It doesn't waste its time getting around. In some movies, as we know, like Metropolis was like over 2 hours long, I think. I'm trying to think of sitting in the movie theater with nothing but the music and sitting there for like 2 hours plus, in the theater. And this one fits more the bill of like, yeah, this is quick entertainment. So it does also tell me a little bit about Lon Chaney, the senior, that is, If I had to compare the two of them, because we've seen a little bit of Lon Chaney Jr. in, I think it was Of Mice and Men, which is probably Lon Chaney Jr.'s best film, in my opinion. But considering most of his outputs, like in the horror genre, usually is The Wolf Man or something like that. But it's like Lon Chaney Sr., man, he had some real acting chops.
It's hard to talk about this, and because, I'm not as versed in silent flicks as I think you probably are. How many have you seen to date?
I probably give off a false impression, folks. My range is mostly limited to what we've seen on Movie Bones. It doesn't mean I haven't seen others, but the majority of what I've seen silent film wise has come within Movie Bones.
But I mean, one of the things that even reading, because I like that time period a whole lot, and I think this is kind of on the edge of close to the end of. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like it's close to the end of it.
I'm looking at 1924 is probably, it's still deep in it, because I think you started to get talkies late. Maybe in a few more years, you'd be starting to see talkies take over a little bit. You see some early talkies, especially in the 1930 area.
You've got to show your emotions on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's what people were trained to do. That's that's the big issue, or for a lot of people going from, silent films to talkies.
Yeah.
Is that they're so used to giving the impression on the screen, they're not as used to giving the the lines on screen and everything. You're almost surprised that maybe they didn't teach them to recite lines because we still have plays. A lot of these people were in plays at some point, and then really that's more of a critique of the era, and then what you could have done better type of thing if you knew that the talkies were going to be a thing. But really going back to the heart of this. You have to give that emotion through your character. You have to give that through your body movements, through your facial expressions. And he does a really good job of that in this film, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And it's not, and even though, and one of the other things you get from that transition from because you got all these actors coming from stage production, is you tend to have what it gives those early silent films, one of their other defining characteristics besides the title cards and certain other tropes, is the over-exaggerated facial expressions, which is what you tend to get a lot of the time because these people were trained in theater. They're trying to act so that people in the back seats can tell what the emotion is. You have to play it big and broad, and so they do. Although I will say that Lon Chaney is, for a silent film era, his facial movements are more controlled. Sometimes I see silent film stars, their face always looks like it's about to explode. He's still playing it bigger than you see in a modern film or a talkie. You can tell he's got it under control. And I don't think I've seen that very much, if at all, in the silent film. I really appreciate that. It really struck me when I was watching it. His performance really grabbed me that way.
I know I brought this up way too many times, especially with The Man Who Laughs and everything. But There was a couple times I was watching this film, and I don't know, I was just like, this is so Joker coded. And
Oh
maybe it's
yeah.
just the clown part of it. I also felt maybe there was some inspiration for other characters. Maybe some of that has to do with like just because it's like it's that style of clothing in that era, like
Hmm.
that style of clown clothing, which is for us now because we have like bad guy characters or really evil movie monster characters like the Terror series. Pennywise in the current It iterations, he's wearing a similar style of clothing.
And it's not a well kept secret or anything. Clowns are creepy. In fact, I think people have done more horror stories or dark stories around clowns. If you include the Joker, Pennywise, it runs the gamut. The odd thing would be to find a story about a clown that wasn't either tragic or more likely horror, because that's what you end up seeing most of the time.
I might be wrong, but it almost feels like this movie had to inspire a lot of that
Oh yeah,
because we get the story of the clown who is not evil, but he's seeking revenge
yeah.
when most clowns aren't built that way, which also does a really good job too. And I get why they do this in this movie. Like I'm looking at a picture, like a big blown up picture, a very good picture of Lon Sr. as the clown's name is he. So he's dressed up like he, and like everybody else is like got the more of the traditional, the frills, the hats. The clothing is very much white, or at least looks white. But his character doesn't. His character is wearing a black or a dark clown suit. He doesn't have a hat. His hair is kind of torn out. And also his facial expression, if you look at the facial expression, maybe you could argue that some other ones look like this, but his facial expression, especially in the eyes, there's a sadness in the eyes.
It does tie back into what I was saying about his performance, I think. If I was to, I could even put it more succinctly, is that he's pulling off like two emotions at once. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what the story's doing too. Because the story really is about the cruelty of the world and mocking it. You just recognize this world as a painful, unjust place. And, and it's like the way he deals with it is to put it on public display. Basically, his performance, his entire shtick is to recreate his own humiliation and for public entertainment. It's kind of a really kind of interesting idea all on its own. The theme of it is so well portrayed. I do think they do sometimes go a little bit far in portraying it. It's like they actually they made that comparison literal when you see it through his eyes, when he has an audience of clowns who represent the audience of professionals who he was mocked. And it's like they actually fade into this like, see, get it, get it. It's like, I know they're still working out some of the details in early films. Like, what do we need to show? But
That was kind of funny. It's like, look, they're the same thing, and you're like, of course they're the same thing. We understand.
yeah, I got it. It's like, yes, we get it.
This is actually the first film to feature the lion roaring as MGM's logo, which I thought was, and like this person says, fittingly, a real lion plays a plot point in the film's story. I did almost wonder if that was like connected,
I think
but
that's like, I'm thinking the same thing because I've never seen a movie like do Death by Kitty before.
you know what? Like you could make an argument that that's cheap. However, I really liked it.
No, I don't
Like
think it's
I
cheap, but yeah, I'm
no,
with
I'm
you.
saying like I
I'm
think
with you. I
there's
liked it, but I don't think it's cheap.
I do think there's an argument to be made that there could be an argument out there that's kind of a cheap way of doing things. But like I was like, it first off, it looked really good, like for the time period, because I'm fairly certain there was a point in time where there was a man jumping around in a lion suit.
It's possible, but it looked real though.
It looked very real.
It was fairly gruesome.
Yeah,
In a revenge flick, you got to nail the revenge part. I mean, it's the purpose of it. But it was, in this case, very satisfying. I do think that the romance itself is almost too quickly developed. It's like they're going to be getting married in the
yeah,
same day.
yeah, and then of course we do know that that's the reason, or some of the reason for that's because the length of the film. Like that's I would think that's part of the reason. I was kind of like, and I don't know if I just kind of blinked and missed it. And I feel like sometimes when you're watching a silent film, that can actually happen if you're not being careful. Like, did it really explain what happened to his wife?
Let's see. Well, she betrays him to the other guy. Thinks she's going to
Yeah, the
settle down with
Baron.
him for some reason. Like, he's so trustworthy. That's the same mistake. Why do you think you're going to be able to trust this guy? Of course, he takes the first chance he can to stab her in the back. Later on to flip it on for some other woman that he wants. But then I think you just don't see her anymore. She just kind of falls out of the plot.
Because it becomes a big plot point that the girl's dad is convincing him to marry her.
Yeah. And it's like, but then I thought, what does he want to marry her or doesn't he? Or he just wants to have a fling. He wants to have, I guess, his mistresses, I guess, is the way I took it. Because
Yeah.
he was seen reluctant to actually tie the knot. So it seemed to be more like, I just want someone to dabble with on the side sometimes. So, but it still means ditching the other one because, like, you can't have too many mistresses, I guess.
With that as well, another thing to think about is that I thought was kind of interesting. Like her dad is interacting with the Baron. I think they have an idea of what's going on, but it is kind of something that there's not really a lot of interactions between our two lovers and these other people in the story. It almost is like it could be different stories. Like they're over there doing their own thing.
It really is just instrumental to one particular part. And at first I thought it was hard for me to understand exactly what they were going to do with the romance because it looked for a moment like, obviously they almost try and set he up as a romantic interest for the girl, the new love for him. And he does. He tries to act on it, which would lead to my second problem later on. And the girl herself, it seems pretty ambivalent about both of them until suddenly she's not. And that was a bit of a problem. Like I said, the romance stuff, it was very kind of, it could have used a few more passes. By having, he tried to, out of desperation almost, want this woman for himself. But it did hurt my feeling for the guy as much because it's like, you're too desperate, dude. It's like, if he just, like,
Yeah.
if he had just, and here's what I would have done. It's like, I just would want him to, like, see what's going on with the girl and the one she loves versus the one who's after her. It's like, look, that guy's bad news. It's like, the least I can do, be a third party, disinterested third party, take my advice, run from that guy, and if you want to, go out with the other guy. Because this guy over here, don't. Just don't.
That was one of my things too, is like him falling for her. I was like, I thought that could have been done better. And by that, I mean just not having him fall for her. Because, he works with these characters, or these other two people, but again, there's not much connection there. And so, he's like kind of confesses her love to her. And so, he can die in her arms, even though she is, she's rejected his love, but she still, cares for him. Like, that felt like it was trying to connect it that way.
Yeah.
This movie is based off a play. This came out in 1924, which, by the way, Lon Chaney dies 6 years later in
That's
1930.
Young. That's
yeah,
young.
He died at 47. But yep, it's based on He Who Gets Slapped, which is a 1914 play, Russian play, actually. Yeah.
Well, that would explain the darkness. And for Movie Bones, at some point, I'm probably going to have to come up with a little checkbox for our movie researches as made based on a play, because we've had so many of them. Contrary to what you might be thinking, folks, we don't go out looking for movies based on plays. Not deliberately,
We
at
really
least.
don't. Man, the play ends darkly. Woo. He kills Consuelo.
He
does.
Consuelo. He kills Consuelo.
Yeah, he poisons her in order to prevent her from marrying Baron Regnard, and she dies. And the Baron immediately commits suicide off stage. And then he, as in the clown,
Yeah.
he takes the poison as well and dies.
I approve of the changes they made. It could have been a lot worse. I don't think I would have liked it nearly as much as I liked what I got out of the movie. That sounds terrible, dude.
And the Baron is he's an antagonist, but I don't think he's the antagonist. He's not the one that fell in love with he's not the one that fell in love with his wife.
Okay.
And third act is revealed that the gentleman, so I'm guessing that's the person that actually stole his wife. The gentleman is now married to his former wife, and that he wrote a highly successful book about his affair with her that has made the gentleman rich and famous.
Of course.
The gentleman appears regularly impressed with his wife and son, and he vows never to return. And that's the character's name. It doesn't have an actual name. It's he.
Yeah.
He vows never to return to his former life, and the gentleman leaves. He focuses on his attention on Consuelo and makes an unsuccessful attempt to sabotage her engagement to Baron Regnard. So is Baron Regnard actually a bad guy in the story? He might not be. It might just be he's the bad guy.
My wife often tells the story of a movie she watched. infamously to her at least, is like she said I'm not going to watch it because reputation alone. It's called The Mill and the Floss, and it's like where it's just the same kind of like everything is dark, everything is bad, and it's just there is no shining, there is no light. And I'm not saying that you can't have a tragedy, but it's like the tragedies still have to have like a point to them, and it all felt so pointless to her. It's like that sounds like what this is going on with the play. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna pass on that.
Here's a fun little fact. Supposedly, this was not something I found on Wikipedia. It's something I found elsewhere. It's not confirmed, but there was a thought that Bela Lugosi actually had an uncredited bit in this film. It originated from the discovery of a still from the film found in his scrapbook posthumously, showing an unidentified clown speaking to Lon Chaney in one scene. Now, people close to Lugosi thought it was evidence that he did appear in the film, but there are historians that all agree that it's very unlikely because he was either in Chicago or New York. So there is a chance Bela Lugosi is a clown in this movie.
Speaking of classic horror icons, I have not yet seen, and I probably need to see the Silent Phantom of the Opera, also with Lon Chaney.
Is that one going to be a book accurate?
Oh, there's so many adaptations. I have read the book. Yeah, I find it awful.
I know that like people like the most modern version, the movie of the Phantom of the Opera, but like in that one, apparently I've never really seen it all the way through. But in that one, you've got it's kind of like he's more sympathetic. But like people say all the time, like no, the Phantom of the Opera is truly a scary dude. I have seen Lon Chaney as the Phantom of the Opera. I've seen what he looks like, and he is truly the scary guy that he's supposed to be.
The book does describe him as like death, the visage of death, and that's what he should be.
Yeah.
It's like, but what I hate about all the adaptations of like Phantom of the Opera is how so many of them make him into a romantic love interest. It's like, dude, what kind of what kind of relationships did you have that you want to make him a love interest? Do you know this? Do you know what this guy is? I mean, what he does? Because that never changes. He's always manipulative. He's always sadistic. It's like, no, no, look somewhere else. Find someone else, dude. That's my little gripe about that. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a chance to see it. I don't know if it's on Internet Archive, and if it is, maybe we'll add it to the list. But at least I'm piqued now because of Lon Chaney's performance in this movie. I can't think of anything else to say. You got anything else? Any other tidbits for the audience, or should we move on to verdicts?
I think we'll just move on to the verdicts.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect movie for me. It's very straightforward in some ways. It also feels a little incomplete in other ways. It does a really good job at doing the number one thing you have to do at a revenge flick, which is actually to have a satisfying, comeuppance and have the hero be behind it. And that plus Lon Chaney's performance itself. Yeah, belongs in a museum for me. It's not like terribly great. It's entertaining for sure. And I'll be coming back to it eventually. How about you, man?
I say trust me, and because you got movie history here, not just with the MGM Studios, first time using logo, but like, you still, it's like it's history made. You're looking back into the past. It's a dark enough story that I think even those of you that might not care for silent films maybe would dig into just from the psychological aspects of it. There are certain aspects of the film that, of course, I was like, I've critiqued already. Some of the character depth, I thought, if you had a little bit longer of a film, like we could spend a little bit more time with those characters and get to know them better. And, and also too, it's like you've got some characters that just drop off the face of the earth. And clearly knowing the play now, it's like, why did you do that? Because that shouldn't have been something that you've done. Because like his wife who left him because she had an affair, he's like, she's very much part of the play. I think it's gripping enough. There's some good effects in here. Really just a lot of interesting stuff. I thought the cards too, I could lean more towards belongs in a museum, but hey.
So yeah, at this time, we'd like to remind our listeners out there that if you're having a good time with Ryan and me dusting off these old movies in search of celluloid treasure, please do like and subscribe and comment. And of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong. We're open to criticism. Clue us in on a few titles you'd like us to see cover on future episodes too while you're at it. As long as they're available for free on Tubi or Internet Archive or some other free streaming platform, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. And we have another one next week, Ryan. We have another movie next week, and it's a good one. It's going to be a good one. I already know because, well, first of all, I've seen it, and I don't think you have, but I've seen it. It's a good one. It's a very influential film.
Yeah. I think there's actually a remake of it too.
Oh, there's several. People include even like A Bug's Life. Pixar's A Bug's Life as a version of it. but there's lots of versions of
Huh.
this out there.
So Tubi says, in Akira Kurosawa's stunning epic, a veteran samurai gathers 6 others to teach a village of farmers how to defend against marauding bandits. I am going to do my best to say these names.
Okay.
This stars Toshiro Mifune, Takashi Shimura, Kiko Shishima.
I'm going to say it's Tsushima.
Tsushima, and then Yukiko Shimasuka, or Shimasuki. But again, this is directed by Akira Kurosawa, who we've watched a couple times now. This is next week's film is an incredibly long movie, Seven Samurai from 1954.
Yeah, and anything with Toshiro Mifune in it and Akira Kurosawa is directing it is like, you've got me on board. I've learned my lesson well with these guys. So definitely, yeah. Please do join us for that one, folks. It's going to be a real good time. Anyway, I can't think of anything else to pad out the time longer for this episode, Ryan. So goodbye to the folks.
Goodbye.
All right, folks. Bye-bye. We'll see you next week.